I want my kiddo I want to pass on what I've learned so that he's better equipped than I was. At this point, how far removed are you guys now? Can you remind me, how long has it been? A couple years?
It's going to be 2 years.
That's what I was thinking.
Next week, yeah.
Okay. So coming up on 2 years. And then just having this experience. So Derek, you just spoke a little bit to, the benefit that this ended up having for you. So you two may have different answers to this question. So feel free to each take a turn. In what ways does this experience that you had in this church continue to impact you today in a harmful way? How is it still causing difficulty or suffering?
So for myself, I would say, again, our experience is probably going to look different. Derek was already again, kind of removed from the church a lot longer than I had been when I first left.
At least as far as my emotional ties to the church, because I was obviously still entangled while she was there. But I'd separated myself cognitively and emotionally from them for the last 8 months before she left.
Okay.
Yeah. So after I left, again, it took a month for me to realize hey, that was actually not healthy at all. And that was actually not good, after watching a YouTube video, where they were interviewing the authors of The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse. And I listened to that interview and they were just naming all these red flags. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's things began to click, but then it's you began to I began to grieve, oh my gosh, this is what I lived through. This is what I experienced. And I just lost everyone that I've known for the last 9 years. And I began getting depressed really fast. And I began counseling as fast as I could. Probably within 2-3 months of me leaving, I started counseling. And even then I was in counseling weekly for several months, and then biweekly, and which was great. It's what I needed. And even then, though, there's still the things that, counseling doesn't solve everything. There's still things I can't take my counselor to the store with me. And, but, going to the store, going to Walmart, I avoided Walmart for a year. I would not go inside of a Walmart because I knew that was in an area where people went, and I did not want to face anyone. The thought of seeing anyone made me sick. I avoided certain roads because I knew where people lived and I knew where the church was. I was on a main road. So I would take an extra 15 minutes driving down the slowest, most traffic congested roads that I could, so that I could avoid seeing people. One time I accidentally ended up on one of the roads that I didn't want to, and I instantly was nauseous and thought I was going to throw up. And I was like, okay, you're driving.
You're calling me, actually.
Yeah, I called Derek, and I was trying to take deep breaths, okay, I think I can survive this. I'm going to turn on this street to make sure that I'm safe. And so I was again, really paranoid. I avoided stores. I did a lot of grocery pickup. I was anxiety. I think I already had anxiety before. We just never called it that because we weren't allowed to. But that definitely jumped. And again, I was depressed. There's a lot of a lot of waves, as far as I was doing good and then not. And so
And I want to also talk about the impact that this had on our kids. So we have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So we had some loud arguments during that 8 months. I really tried to just be kind and loving, but there'd be nights where she'd be gone for multiple nights a week until 10 o'clock. And it's I want my wife home. And so we definitely had some loud arguments. The kids witnessed some of those. And then once we left, our marriage was getting better, but Dulce was just dealing with this incredible depression. And that's still impacting our youngest son right now, who's still having behavior, concerns. Our older kid, he's really well adjusted, but the first few years of this kid's life was really, really rough, just dealing with the fallout of us losing our community, and fighting to leave this dangerous association. And it's really sad to see how that impacted our tiny ones.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability and sharing it. Yeah, you guys are not alone. And my goodness, there's stuff that comes up. I mean, any parent listening to this, I mean, it may relate directly or maybe it relates indirectly to their religious abuse. Gosh, maybe it's been several years and then they got triggered and they just lost it in front of their kid and they totally didn't mean to. And it's like, okay, now I've got to explain that. And I'm trying to, teach how to handle big emotions, but that's not how we handle big emotions. And oh my gosh, yeah, you guys. And I think what I think is so powerful with kiddos and what I've seen with my own is owning my stuff with him when it happens.
Yeah.
And just sharing, ooh, yeah, mama did not handle that the way she should have. Yep. And I'm so sorry. And that shouldn't have happened. And, gosh, Michael and I have strong personalities to begin with. So like if something triggering happens or we're like, whoa, okay, it can get loud or it can get, loud is really what happens. Doesn't really get anything else. No one has to worry about us, but yeah, it could get loud. It's just like, okay, hold on. Like we're escalating and we don't want to escalate in front of him. We don't want to escalate that way in general. And so, okay, how are we going to handle this well? And there's something, have you guys ever seen this? I don't know if I saw it as just a quote or a meme or what, but it's like, who knew parenting was so much about our big emotions?
Absolutely.
It's so true. And Michael and I will call each other out on that, where I was like, babe, that was a lot more about you running out of patience than it was about whatever Blaze was doing and vice versa. So you guys being able to recognize it and be able to, love your kids through it. And as they get older, I think that's going to be helpful for all of us as well, to be able to bring more clarity as they're able to understand more. And I think if we're raising some good, empathetic, loving kiddos, they're going to get it. And my goal, and maybe you can make a shirt about this for me, Dulce, because I know that you've got shirts coming out. It's like, you've got to make it shorter. I'm going to say it too long. It's too long for shirts. You got to abbreviate it. But like, my goal for my child is minimal therapy, but I accept that realistically, like he's probably going to need some for something. And it's like, I know that I'm imperfect and I want him to have supports outside of me when he gets older. And as that's more appropriate for him to have, like, I want him to have those additional supports.
That's going to be kind of hard to fit.
Yeah.
Right.
I think with that too, there's two things I want to share on the kids. First, like I totally agree with what you're saying. So like we don't have loud disagreements nearly as frequently. When they do happen, it's like, and if the kids are around, it's like it was not right for daddy to talk like that to mom. Or if I raise my voice to them, it's like it's not okay for me to yell at you unless it's like a safety thing. Like I'll be clear, if they're running across the street like yelling, I'm going to raise my voice.
Right.
But majority, it's like it's not okay for me to treat you like that. It's not okay for anyone to treat you like that. And really owning that and setting healthy expectations and boundaries for them later in life. Like, it's not okay when people do this to me. And I'm not a perfect parent. I fail. But I really want to be, like you were saying, own those mistakes so they see what actual like repentance looks like. And so they know what to look for in a healthy relationship, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it was hard, like, because I had just became a stay-at-home mom when Derek was first starting to realize that he wanted to leave the church, and so there's like, I mean, I was adjusting to being a stay-at-home mom, and then like within a year, it's like I'm out of the church and I'm depressed, and I have these kids, and
a cat,
and we got a cat. That was later. I thought the cat would help me with my depression. It did not. And so we had like a lot of, again, major transitions happening, and it was hard, like trying to be present with the kids. And then also I'm grieving, like, because everyone that I knew basically was gone and out of my life. And I'm here processing, like, what the heck just happened? Yeah. And eventually, like, I decided that what was best for me, like in the season, was to get on medication. And that was like, again, I didn't initially do it right away. It took a while, but once like kind of anniversaries came around, like I realized that I was spiraling into depression, like even further, and it was harder to get myself out of. And that's when, I was open to that suggestion. But it sucks to know that the spiritual abuse caused so much pain, not only to me, but it affected like my kids and kind of like the way that I guess that maybe a healthy brain should function. And it's like, oh, okay, like there's a lot of steps to this healing. And it's hard.
Yeah. And it does take time.
Yeah. I want to, the one other thing I want to mention about the kids real quick too, is you mentioned, Naomi, how we have to kind of like be careful. Like we want to talk to them about this stuff, but kind of like at a developmental level. So with our kids right now, we're teaching our older son especially about safe friends and what safe friends do and look like.
Right.
And when he asks to see some of his old friends from the church, we say they're not safe friends. Their parents were not safe friends for mommy and daddy, and so they're not people that we're going to spend time with right now. And as he gets older, we'll break that down more. But that's kind of something that he understands a little bit right now. It's like, okay, these people, they're not safe, and whatever that means, we'll unpack more for him later.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, we had an experience with Blaze when had he just turned 2 or 3? I'm blanking on it now. It's irrelevant, but he was young, point being. And so as he's gotten older, there was someone who was no longer able to be in his life anymore. And so as he's remembered this person at different times, like in these different pieces, we've been able to share more now that he's 5. So, still 5, but like there's more understanding and being able to share with him, like, part of why we can't see that person anymore is because that person never said they're sorry.
Yeah.
And people can mess up, but if they really say they're sorry and they really mean it, then maybe we can solve a relationship. It depends, but maybe we can, maybe they can become safe, but this person isn't even sorry. And so we can't. So I totally get what you guys are saying of what can we share and how can we use what we've learned to start equipping them younger? Because I'm 100% on board with y'all I want my kiddo I want to pass on what I've learned so that he's better equipped than I was.